Hello everyone, Fanta here, you're watching FANTAVISION, and today we're going to be taking a look at the Mario Kart 8 Deluxe Booster Pack. And it's the Wave 1 that just came out a couple days ago, and so far, unfortunately, it's a little bit disappointing. I'm just going to preface this before we dive into the in-depth look of each level. The textures here are not great. That's just the sad fact. And I'm going to mention that as I talk about these different courses, but I want to preface all of the courses. I'm going to keep saying it because it is an issue with every single course. The textures here look like mobile phone games. It looks like they just didn't put in the effort. I don't know why, but it seems like they ported over the Mario Kart Tour level and they thought that that was okay to have for all the levels. And honestly, it just isn't. It does not look great. It looks lazy, and some of these levels I'm about to talk about actually have stuff missing that the originals had. And when it comes to remaking levels, you should be striving to making them better, not worse. And unfortunately, some of these levels are worse. But let's go ahead and start with the first track of the pack. That is Paris Promenade, which was probably my least favorite of the 8 new tracks. I mean, the track itself isn't very visually interesting, and again, those textures, especially on this level, there's not much going on in the level, so it's really apparent just how flat and boring these textures are. It feels lifeless. It is just not a good track in my opinion. It's mostly just a bunch of straightaways with things in the middle of the straightaway that you have to drift around, but that's about it. And overall, it's just, there's nothing really that interesting about this level. I don't see myself playing this a whole lot in the future. And the only cool feature of this track is the fact that at the third lap, all of a sudden, you're going to be racing in the opposite direction at a certain point. And if you are very far ahead, you'll be encountering some oncoming traffic from the people in the last place area. So that's interesting at least, but it's not enough to save this track, and I really did not enjoy it. Toad Circuit. Now this track was ported over from the 3DS version with very little change from the original, and it's another very simple track layout, but unlike the Paris Promenade, it's actually a lot of fun. I mean, it's basically a figure 8 pattern, but it's got some flying elements that are fun, and it has a really catchy song in the background. And there's a lot of curves instead of just straightaways the entire time, so it's a lot more fun. But again, the textures, especially on this map, because again, not a whole lot going on, so you're just staring at this plastic looking grass where it's just one big solid chunk, and it looks terrible. I don't know what's going on. And by the way, why is the crowd still a bunch of 2D sprites? Really? The Nintendo Switch couldn't handle some 3D models? No, wait, I know it can. Because in past levels that have come out on the Wii U, they had crowds of 3D people. So I don't quite understand why there's a bunch of 2D sprites in the crowd, and I feel like that's just a bit frustrating. You should be upgrading these levels. I mean, the Switch can handle it if the Wii U could. The third track of this cup is Choco Mountain, which brings back a lot of nostalgia for me. I grew up and played the N64 version of Mario Kart so much. I love that version of Mario Kart. It might be my favorite due to the battle mode and with all the memories that are associated with it, but I digress. The music in the background is so catchy. I love it so much. But you know what? Honestly, we have Sweet Sweet Canyon already. It feels almost like that replaced Choco Mountain. Now, Choco Mountain's not a terrible map. It's kind of bland and boring with this lack of interesting texture work that we're seeing here. But overall, not a bad map. Just wish they had put that time and effort like they had in previous levels that were on the Wii U. Alright, so the last track of this cup, Coconut Mall, which is by far the strongest track of these 4 in both level design and being the most visually interesting. The elevators changing direction is a nice touch, and that's actually a good change, whereas there are quite a few things that are changed about this map that I don't understand, and they're not for the better. I mean, overall, it feels kind of like a downgrade, because the track itself, when you're inside the mall compared to the original, it feels so much smaller. than the original map. You feel like you're in this condensed little area, and it doesn't really feel like a mall. It doesn't feel like that's what you're going through. Whereas the original, it had like 3 levels, and it was packed. It was packed full of Miis. Where are the Miis? Bring back the Miis. Seriously, why didn't they just add a bunch of 3D Miis all over the level just like you did in the original? It looked phenomenal, having this big crowd cheering you on. It got you pumped. It was exciting. It adds to the exciting atmosphere. I mean, don't get me wrong, this is a great track. This is the best of the 4. But I don't understand why they changed it in this way. Also, why are the cars no longer moving? Near the last bit of the track, normally those cars are moving, but in this, they're just stationary. This is again a much more powerful console than the Wii, so how come the Nintendo Wii could handle all of that stuff, and yet the Switch can't? That doesn't make any sense to me. What is going on here? Why are we seeing downgrades? That doesn't make any sense. I do like that they changed some of the things. I like the curves near the garden area are no longer these weird metal things, but are now a nice colorful path. That's a good change, and there's some nice brick walls, but beyond that, the level itself does feel like a downgrade from the original. I wish they had looked more at the original levels and just said, what can we do to make this better? Instead of what can we do to just bring this to the Switch as quickly as possible, because that's what it feels like. So, moving on to the second cup. Now, by this time, I was a little bit disappointed, and I was really hoping the second cup would make up for the lackluster first cup. And I was hoping that that texture issue would not carry over to this. Maybe they had a different design team working on the first cup, the second cup was being worked on by a different team. But nope, all those texture issues are still there, and once again highlighted in a mobile track, Tokyo Blur. Now, Tokyo Blur is a lot better than Paris Promenade, but it still feels like a mobile game. It still feels lackluster when it comes to the look of it. Now, the level design is a lot more interesting. There are different switches between each of the laps, so it is a lot better when it comes to replayability. Your first lap, you're on a different part of the track, and then the second and the third, each one is slightly different, but again, just good God, there's so much that could have been done with this map to make it look gorgeous and amazing, but the lighting is just flat, the textures are just flat, and overall, it's just, there's so much opportunity here that was just wasted. I mean, this level could have looked incredible, but instead it looks like this. Shroom Ridge, this second track of this cup, just Nintendo, the grass, everything, oh my god. Now, when I first played these tracks, I thought I was kind of losing it. I didn't believe that the textures were looking like how they were looking. You know what I mean? Like, I was seeing the grass and I was looking at it and I'm like, maybe I'm just nitpicking, maybe I'm misremembering what this game looks like. But no, I went back and played previous levels, I went back and played a bunch of different levels, and nope, it's just this track pack that looks like just awful. I mean, the grass, let me just freeze frame this opening. So this is the opening to the level. This is supposed to highlight how beautiful this level is and show you the different parts of it. It's the, like, attract feature on an arcade machine. But here we are with this frozen still image of what looks like grass made out of clay, and on the original Shroom Ridge, there are trees everywhere. Now they're just scattered about, and the skybox is boring. There's just so much that is bland and wrong with this level, and it is all captured here in this one frame. And it's so sad to see another level that, I like this level. I like this track so much. It's so much fun, but it's again a huge missed opportunity. The cliff overlook portion, the uphill curves portion, the fact that the level's 90% curves, and the traffic make this level a blast to play. There's so much going on, but it looks so bad. It looks really bad. This one has so much grass in it. And it again has so many different ways they could have made this level look incredible, but instead they didn't, and I don't know why. It is so sad to see this amazing level treated in this way. The third track of this cup is Sky Garden, and honestly, This is gonna make a lot of people upset, I'm sure, but here we go. This level doesn't need to exist in this game. It just doesn't. It was not necessary at all. This level is just a worse cloud top cruise. It just is. I mean, it has the clouds, it has the vines, but it looks worse, and it's really boring compared to cloud top cruise. This level's simple. It doesn't have any really cool mechanics going on here. It doesn't really make any sense why it's in this pack when Cloud Top Cruise takes advantage of every single thing that Mario Kart 8 has. It looks phenomenal. It has so many different changing bits. It has interesting shortcuts. It has a part where you're in the clouds and then you're on the ship and then you're in the cloud. You're in the clouds. You're not just on the clouds. You're in the clouds and there's lightning and they're changing which paths you gotta go on and the boosters are getting electrified and there's so much going on in that level that is interesting. It is one of my favorite levels, and I was hoping that they would have done the remake treatment on this one, but instead, good God, the skybox is boring. It looks like they just slapped a couple 3D models in there. It looks like a lot of these different levels, they just took Nintendo characters, slapped them in there. They don't look like they're organically part of the level. They just look like they were thrown in, like they were just an asset they have. It looks like they fit the scenario. That's fine, just throw them in there. Now, I mean, if you calculate the cost of all the different levels, it's like 50 cents each. Like, I understand we're getting a lot of tracks here, but if they're all going to be this lazy, they're all going to be this bland, honestly, even then it's not worth the 50 cents because I'm not going to be playing this level ever again. I mean, it's not a fun level. It's not unique, it's not interesting, and there's no reason for it to be here. I'm sorry if this is your favorite level, but man, by the time I got to this track and played it a couple times, I was just done. I was just done with it. And it's sad because I love Mario Kart 8. I love the different mechanics, and I'll get into that after I cover the last track, but man, at this point, I was pretty sad. And this level just cemented it for me. The last level of this entire Wave 1 of the booster pack is Ninja Hideaway. And you know what? I do like this track a lot. It is absolutely just madness at certain parts of it. And it's just chaotic. And it feels like a great Mario Kart track. It feels like a great addition because of just how crazy some of these parts get. Because there's so many different paths you can take. And I mean, the first time I played through it, I was getting lost. I was like, oh my God, what am I doing? After a couple playthroughs, I started getting into the groove. I started picking which routes I wanted to navigate, and I started to really enjoy this level. But the problem is, just like every other level, it's got this bland textures, and it also, I haven't mentioned it until now because I really want to talk about it now. None of these levels take advantage of Mario Kart 8's main gimmick. They don't take advantage of what makes so many of these levels great in Mario Kart 8, and that's the anti-grav mechanic. The anti-gravity mechanic allows for the level creators to have an insane amount of freedom when it comes to creativity and to make these levels ridiculous. They're phenomenal whenever it's used, and every single time it's used, it always nails it, in my opinion. All these different levels that have the anti-grav, even if you're just going on like a crazy steep curve, or you're going like upside down and all these like twisty roller coaster like levels, it's so much fun. And I don't understand why it's not in Ninja Hideaway. Why is it not in any of these remakes? We've had remakes with this mechanic added to it. There have been so many of these different remakes that have been creatively changed in a wonderful way, and we're not seeing that here in the track pack. And the thing is, I was initially a defender of this. I was a defender of this track pack. I thought people were nitpicking when they first saw the trailer and went, you know, the graphics look like a downgrade. And I was like, what? No, it's fine. I mean, I only watched the trailer like maybe once or twice, and I didn't quite pick up on it, but when you play these levels, you feel it. You feel the downgrade, and it's really disappointing because remember all of those levels that I talked about that are full of detail and look way better than these, they were released on the Wii U 8 years ago, okay? 8 years ago on less powerful hardware, these levels looked better. And that's just not acceptable. Nintendo is supposed to be known for its polish. And honestly, lately, with a lot of these games that they've been coming out with, they don't feel like they've gotten that Nintendo polish. And this is just another example of them kind of being lazy, which is a shame because Nintendo has always been that company. Even if they'll do something stupid, which they've done forever, we go, well, look at how quality their games are. Look at how polished and amazing they are. Look at how good they look and how they take full advantage of the system's hardware. And I could say that about every single game except for this track pack. It does not look like they're taking advantage of the hardware at all. This looks worse than the Wii U levels. So I can't honestly say that it is taking advantage of the hardware. They didn't optimize it. They didn't take the time to really put in the detail. And I know this sounds crazy. This is going to be a lot of people in the comments down below. I don't care what it looks like. I just want to know if it's fun. It is pretty fun. But I would argue that the graphics do play a part in how fun these levels are because you're going to be racing on these levels a lot. You are going to play these levels over and over and over and over because that's what you do in a racing game. You just keep racing it over and over and over. And honestly, the lack of detail, while dismissible maybe the first couple times, is only going to become more prominent and worse the more you play it. And I feel like that's why I need to talk about this. That's why this video is so long, because I have put hundreds of hours into Mario Kart 8, and I'm just on the Switch itself. I mean, the Wii U, I don't even know how many hours I put into it, but I love this game. I play it with friends. I play it online with you guys, and it is absolutely disappointing that this is what we're getting. This is what we're getting after 8 years of not having a new Mario Kart game. It's really disappointing to see Nintendo go down this road of laziness. Maybe they'll patch these levels if enough people complain, but I feel like online there's just not enough people. And I mean, if you look at reviews of this, they mention it, but I feel like it needs to be a bigger point than it actually is. Because having 8-year-old levels look better from a previous console generation is just sad. I'm hoping a lot of people give the same feedback I am, and that wave number 2, it just comes out in a better condition than this, because I was really excited about this booster pack, and now I'm just worried. I'm really worried what we're going to see with these next waves, and if I'm even going to incorporate these Grand Prix and these levels into future online tournaments with you guys or with friends. And so far, these 2 packs, I mean, maybe I'll play the Ninja Hideaway again, and maybe I'll play a couple of these levels, but most of them are just pretty lackluster. Let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Of course, like the video if you guys liked it. Subscribe for more content. Thank you to all my wonderful patrons and my Twitch subscribers and my YouTube members. Seriously, you guys make this possible. And as always, have a fantastic day. See you, everybody.